Dr Zamo Mbandlwa. He's a political analyst at the Durban University of Technology, and he joins us via our video link. Dr Mbandlwa, thanks very much indeed for your time. All important points the Premier is touching on in his maiden State of the Province address. He's really talking tough in terms of the kind of economic development he's outlined for the province over the coming 5 years. Has he said enough about the bread and butter issues that impact so many residents of KwaZulu-Natal?
Thank you so much, Michelle, and good afternoon to the viewers. Well, I think the Premier spoke about critical issues, important issues, but I've not heard anything new if you compare to what other premiers of the province of KwaZulu-Natal have spoken about in the past. You will believe that it's a cut and paste. Because all the things that he spoke about are something that we already know and they've already spoken about. And I'm not sure whether is there any proper plan to actually implement what they've been talking about. You know, when you talk about inclusive growth, all the politicians, all the premiers, all the leaders are talking about the same thing, the inclusive growth. They speak about reducing the poverty, building ethical states, and some others are even saying that they want to create a corrupt-free province or a corrupt-free government. It's something that they always talk about. But he also spoke about the development in the Durban Trade Port. The initiative of the Durban Trade Port is something that was initiated a long time ago, and I'm not sure why the project is not coming to an end, because they always keep talking about it. And I hope maybe under the new administration, there will be some development, there will be some changes. We cannot judge them now, but as time goes on, we'll be able to see if there's any progress or it's just a rhetoric.
Right. I mean, I've got his speech here in front of me, and he says a lot about a whole range of sort of broad issues, right? He talks about the fact that some businesses remain closed because they didn't have the resources to rebuild following the unrest of 2021. He's talking about households that are headed by children since as far back as the COVID-19 pandemic, and of course, long before then as well. He talks about so many families, over 1,000 families still living in transitional emergency accommodations as a result of the floods. So he's talking about a whole range of issues that have impacted the province over the past, say, 3 or 4 years. Some of those issues date back further than that, the child-headed households issue. But these are broad strokes, right? There aren't any specifics about what we plan to do as a province and what the timelines are.
Yes, certainly. The main problem now is there's an idea. Now, the problem is how do they take that idea forward? How do they implement that idea? And again, he spoke about things that have happened in the last 3 years. And I wonder why his predecessor did not do anything. When we talk about looting, when we talk about the pandemic, when we talk about the 2022 floods, is going to address the economic condition in the province of KwaZulu-Natal beyond those disasters that have occurred. Now, why the predecessor did not do anything about that? Or is there anything that was done before? Is he taking over from an existing program of project to address these issues, or is starting from scratch? So there's no proper plan. I so wish that politicians, especially when they talk about these issues, which are critical issues that are touching the lives of the people, they even talk about the plan. Maybe, let's say, for example, in the next 6 months, what will be the plan of the government? What is it that they want to do? You can't be talking in periphery and talk about economic growth without having a detailed plan on how that economic growth will be initiated, what are the timelines, who are the role players in that economic growth. So for me, it's a rhetoric, because no one can hold them accountable, because they've not actually spoke about the timeline or the time frame. And no one can be able to say, you said you'll deliver 1, 2, and 3 before the end of February, maybe next year. You have not done so. So where is the problem? How far are you? What can we do?
Right.
You know, so for me, it's just a rhetoric.
Yeah, I mean, I would go so far as to say, outside of Thami Ntuli's own timelines for the next 5 years, what we should be hearing in these SOPA addresses, and they're taking place around the country. Alan Winde in the Western Cape has also delivered his second State of the Province address today. But what we should be hearing is, this is what my predecessor did about these long-standing issues, and this is how I plan to take those initiatives forward.
Yes, certainly. That is my biggest concern, because if then politicians, especially the premiers, are behaving as if there was no government before them, so now they are the government and they're starting from scratch. For me, it creates a perception that those who were leading before them, or even those who are coming back, even their previous term, they did not do much. Now they want to start something afresh. So for me, I think that's where the problem is. There must be a continuity in the service delivery, and also they must also come with innovative ideas on how they will counterattack the economic conditions in various provinces, because the economic issues are affecting all the provinces. I don't think there's any province that can claim to perform very well in the economy. And now, if the politicians or the premiers are coming to deliver these addresses, not coming with a solution to address the economic challenges, but promising to create employment opportunities, I think this is just a rhetoric which is there just to make people believe that something will happen. In other words, they are selling a false hope to people who will believe that in the next 5 years something will happen, and then the end of the 5 years again, they'll be coming with the same story over and over again.
Well, let's Dr. Mbandlwa, take a look at what the Premier says under the heading Driving Inclusive Growth and Job Creation. You and I have focused a lot about economic issues, because I think that's probably one of the most pressing issues in a country as unequal as we are, with the unemployment rate as it is. I think that kind of bread and butter issue is what people are listening out for. So this is what the Premier has to say. And I wonder if you can understand exactly what this means and how this will translate into jobs for people. He says we will leverage the capacity and collaborate with the provincial public entities in terms of their mandate in growing and transforming the province's economy. In the coming days, we will hold high-level discussions with their leadership, including boards and executive managers. How does that translate into jobs?
Well, it's a good plan, but the economy of any country cannot be championed by government entities or state-owned entities only. But the private must be brought on board as well to say, what is it that they can do to bring back to their communities? What is it that they can do to improve the economy of the country, of the province in this matter? So I was hoping that maybe it will also indicate who are the real key stakeholders that will be engaged to make sure that they are bringing the economy to the province, other than focusing on the public entities or the state-owned entities.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Dr. Mbandlwa, there are the other socioeconomic issues that plague not only KwaZulu-Natal, but so many other provinces around the country. The issue of school nutrition, of scholar transport. We just need to think about that horrific scholar transport accident that happened just earlier this month. The maintenance of schools, the health sector and the provision of healthcare services. I wonder, and I haven't gone through the entire speech as finely as perhaps I would have wanted to, but outside of these broad strokes, again, the question becomes, where have we come from the last 5 years? And how do we plan to take that kind of momentum, if anything has been done, forward?
Well, the scholar transport and food nutrition and other projects that are designed to help the learners in schools are very good initiatives. The problem comes where the maladministration of these projects comes in, whereby those who are responsible for transporting the children, or those who are responsible for feeding the children at schools, are also affiliated to some senior politicians, whereby they have a relationship with those who are in power. Because whoever does have a relationship with those who are in power will not be worried about the service delivery or the effective service delivery, because they are connected. So it's always good to have a proper management system where there's an absolute independence between those who are awarding tenders, those who are in government, and those who are in business, so that they will be able to deliver properly. And if they don't deliver, they will be held accountable. But now, in this case, you find people who are not doing well in terms of providing services to their children, but their contracts cannot be discontinued because they are well connected to those who are decision makers in government. So up until then, I think we'll still experience some challenges. So the management of these projects and those who are involved during the management of these projects are actually the main reason why some of these projects are failing.
Dr. Zamo Mbandlwa is a political analyst at Durban's University of Technology. Thanks very much for joining us this afternoon. And of course, we haven't even touched on the issue of rising levels of crime and violence in KwaZulu-Natal.